So, Robin, you're here to talk about, well, a whole bunch of stuff, but one of the things is the contents, and to share the contents of your most recent book, The Everyday Hero Manifesto. Give us the quick elevator pitch. What are people going to learn?
Well, first of all, it's a book that I spent 16 months during the pandemic living and breathing. I put my heart and my soul in it. For the past 27 years, Richard, I've been mentoring billionaires and CEOs and sports superstars, many of the world's most successful people. And I sort of distilled my methodology on how you can be more productive, more happy, build a world-class life while making the world a better place into these 350 pages of a book called The Everyday Hero Manifesto.
You're going to be talking in Dubai about many things, 8 winning moves to prosper in times of significant change. We'll not go through all of them now, but give us a couple.
One is so very simple, but it's, don't be a victim, be a leader. It's very easy to CBE, complain, blame, and excuse. It's almost a human tendency right now, right? Look at the global economy, look at the wars, look at this, look at the social polarization. So be part of the solution versus part of the problem. It sounds so simple, but great leaders are always looking for the opportunity.
The 5 a.m. Club, obviously you've become very famous for that over the past few years. As a breakfast radio presenter, I dream of getting up at 5 a.m. in the mornings. I'm more the 3:30 a.m. club. But why is that so important?
Spartan warriors have a great line. And they used to say many years ago, sweat more in training and you'll bleed less in war. Well, business is a war. All the volatility right now is a war. The markets are a war. By getting up early from 5 to 6 and giving yourself what I call the victory hour, where you strengthen yourself, you read, you meditate, you exercise, you write in a journal, you do all these things that science shows will keep you optimized. You then walk out into business and you come home to your family and you walk out in the world, you're much more centered, serene, focused, and strong.
So what is your 5 a.m. routine?
Well, I call it the 20-20-20 formula. I'll summarize it very quickly. So, Richard, the first 20 minutes, sweaty exercise. It'll release this neurochemical called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, optimizes your brain. You have more energy, reduces stress.
So what did you do this morning, for example?
I was in the gym, and I did the elliptical machine, and then I did some stretches, and I got in very late to Dubai, but it made me feel great. So the first 20 minutes in exercise really is a game changer, neurobiologically, physically, even spiritually. Second 20 minutes, I call that pocket reflect. We live in a world where sometimes we're so busy driving we don't stop for gas or to fuel up electrically. So taking 20 minutes to pray or to read a philosophical book or to even think about your day ahead and write a little script about how you want to show up as a leader, entrepreneur, and human being, it's very powerful. And then the final 20 minutes is growth. Great leaders love to learn. I think the beginning of the end for an entrepreneur or a leader is you fall into the hubris of thinking that you're winning, so you don't need to keep growing.
So the people listening to this show will be driving to work, maybe not quite got up at 5 a.m., but they'll have been up early. But a lot of them are from the hustle harder generation. It's, I get up, I have a cup of coffee, and just go straight into it, because the more calls I make and the harder I work, the better I will do. What message would you have to them?
Well, I'm so happy you brought up the point, Richard, because science actually says that the hustle, they haven't said the hustle culture doesn't work, but this idea of working 365, 24/7, I know where we are, I know that's part of the culture, but science says that the most effective performers work in cycles. They have cycles of extreme and focus and intensive work, and then they pull back and recover. In the 5 a.m. Club, as well as in the Everyday Hero Manifesto, I talk about what I call the twin cycles of elite performance. Work for 3 or 4 hours like a human on fire, but then take half an hour to recover and make rest a part of your days, because rest is not a luxury, rest is a necessity.
In terms of your own role as a business person, you've been doing this for several decades now. You started off as a lawyer, didn't you? But very quickly transitioned to doing this. You're a CEO, you're a business owner. I was checking your LinkedIn profile today. You are the founder of Sharma Leadership International. What lessons have you learned over the past 2.5 years as a business owner, as a business person? Someone who working in an industry that was among the hardest hit by the pandemic.
Well, I would say number one, ELO. ELO, build an extremely lean organization. It's remarkable how much of an impact you can have in terms of serving your customers in the world with a small group of people. Just look at Berkshire Hathaway. Not a lot of people there. So that's the first thing I've learned. Second thing I've learned, you want to have an emergency fund. You don't want to be living by the skin of your pants, to mess up a metaphor. You want to take the time to scenario plan. I mean, human beings suffer from this thing called recency bias. Well, we've never had a depression economically, so it's not going to happen. So that's the second thing I would say. Third thing I would say is the bigger the dream, the more important your team. So if you look at great companies, it's often not the products that make them great. They're great at hiring. So hire your team of Picassos. Fourth thing I'd say is be really willing to pivot. You know, it's the people who get stuck. Well, this is our winning formula and things will get better. They get knocked out of the game. You've got to be willing to say, okay, this no longer works. The landscape is completely different. What are the opportunities for us to add ridiculous amounts of value to the people in our marketplace?
And just talk me through those days in February, March, April, May of 2020. And a big part of your business is live events, isn't it? It's not the only part, but it's a big part.
Yes.
What was it like when the realization dawned that this very important part of your business was effectively shut down?
Yeah, it's a very honest question. So I got a little lucky because I used to run a flagship event called the Titan Summit, and I just decided the last one would be December 2019. So but all my keynotes, my leadership keynotes from around the world, all of those got shut down. And I pivoted and I decided I was going to write this book, The Everyday Hero Manifesto, and I got back to being a writer. I was with my family, and then I'd get up early and I'd write for 5 hours a day. I have this idea, if I can write for 5 intense hours, that's more than enough for a good day's work as an artist. And then I'd spend time with my family. I do nature walks. I caught up on all the books I wanted to read, and I tried to do my best to use the time, though there was suffering for all of us. I used it as a time to pause and to strengthen and to read great books and to write more in my journal, to write this book, to go even deeper with my family, and to try to put out content digitally that would help people who are going through such a hard time.
If we take a step back and look at your career over several decades, I'm interested to know how you manage to keep reinventing yourself, how you have the creativity to do it, but also the energy to do it, because you had this mega hit back in the day, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. You did very, very well out of it. You could have just you could still be going around the world giving Monk Who Sold His Ferrari keynotes today, but yet you keep writing, and you keep writing more and new books. How and why do you do that?
Well, I think that one of the greatest dangers of success is becoming a has-been. And I think that's what you see with a lot of companies, and that you see it with some celebrities, and you see it with some artists. They just become a caricature of that one book that made them successful. I'm in the game to be a master of my craft. I'm in the game to serve as many people as possible. I'm in the game to see how far I can go. And so I try to always stay humble. I never want to think like a master. I want to think like a beginner. And I just have a great time doing it. I'm almost 60 years old. I still love being on airplanes and traveling and meeting amazing people like you. I love writing. Tomorrow I'm doing a keynote on leadership at the Global Leadership Forum and impactors. And I just love getting on that stage and serving and working my craft.
You are one of the world's top leadership gurus. I mean, when I think of your genre, I think of you, I think of Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield. I'm a big fan of. I'm a fan of the genre. Not everyone is, but I am. Who would be your gurus? Who are the guys you look up to?
Well, my life changed when I stood in Nelson Mandela's prison cell on Robben Island. So he's someone I look up to. In the field, Norman Vincent Peale, and someone like Stephen Covey, who I actually shared the platform with when I was first starting out. Those are some of the people in the field that I really admire. I call John Maxwell a friend, and but it's my great heroes are people like Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, my mother, my father. My kids are my heroes just because I adore them.
Just a couple of final questions. a lot of what you talk about is not just how to be successful in business. That is part of it, but that's by no means all of it. And yet, the very notion of selling a Ferrari in a place like Dubai or Abu Dhabi, where you were recently, where it's this thrusting, thriving citadel of capitalism. People want to get ahead. They want the nice car and the nice watch and to fly in a comfortable seat in an aeroplane. How do you balance those in a city like Dubai?
One of the most helpful models in the Everyday Hero Manifesto, and this actually came from my high-level coaching clients, they found this one model terrifically valuable. And it's called the 8 Forms of Wealth. And I believe money is only one form of wealth. There's a lot of rich people, money is all they have. Having a lot of money but being poor of spirit is a real poverty. So I think I have nothing against material things at all. We're physical creatures, I think we all like a better hotel room and more comfortable car. There's nothing wrong with those things. But if those things become your God, you become like the hamster on the treadmill, and then someone has a faster Ferrari, a bigger mansion, a higher net worth, you will never find something that's even more priceless than money. And that's called peace of mind. And so what I would say is pursue economic success. I've helped a lot of people do it over many years. But look at the other 7 forms of wealth and make sure you get high scores on those. And very quickly, what would some of those be? A rich family life. Like, what's the point of getting to the mountaintop and getting there alone? Secondly, health. I've worked with so many people, they've become billionaires, but they lost their health along the way. And the final thing out of those 8 forms of wealth I'll share with you right now is service to the world. I find at this level of my life, I get my most happiness, yes, from my little 5-pound Chorky, and yes, from my family, but I get a lot of happiness from feeling I'm helping people. And so to lead is to serve.
A last question about multiculturalism. You go to a lot of places around the world, happily back on an aeroplane now. You're Canadian, you live in Italy, you're a regular visitor to this part of the world. In fact, I noticed you were here in 2009 at the Literature Festival here in Dubai. So you've been coming here for a long time. It's arguably the most multicultural city in the world. To what extent do different cultures take your messages differently, and to what extent are they universal?
I think they're universal. I think part of the reason I've been around so long and people are still reading my books is because the truth is the truth is the truth. Whether you're in Dubai, whether you're in Shanghai, whether you're in Mumbai, whether you're in New York or Toronto, Richard, we all want to live our leadership potential. We all want to grow more leaders. We all want to do good things for ourselves and our family. We all want to be better human beings. We all want to impact the world around.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Join the conversation.